Hello, chat. Thank you so much for tuning into my live stream today. October 10th, 2029. I'm so happy that you're all here with me to play my work sim. Here we are. It's 2029. We live in a post-scarcity society. It's wonderful, but some of us miss the good old days of coming to work, spending 8 to 16 hours trying to answer our hard analytics questions for our boss. And so I'm glad that you're all here today with me today to go back in time and look at what it was like to play our work games with the new power of AI. Thank you so much for attending. And don't forget, if you want to share bits in the chat or leave feedback in the chat, you can do that with hashtag DataPerson2029. Go ahead and post that on X, formerly known as Twitter, formerly known as X, formerly known as Twitter, formerly known as X. I'm going to go ahead and switch eyewear for this next part of the session because it's a little bit easier for me to type in my 3D realistic world. My name, as you all know, is Bryan Bischof. And if you're a first-time viewer of my live stream, I work for the fictional company SpiderSense. We're a data analytics company, and my manager is Slater Stitch. Boo. Times have changed. Our new world, powered by AI, feels a lot different than it used to. AI has caused this technological revolution, and the role of the data analyst has changed. What is the data analyst to do? How do we take maximum advantage? I'm going to show you today what my workflow looks like in this AI-powered world. I couldn't have predicted this 5 years ago, but one thing I did know is there were still ad hoc requests. So let's look at some of these requests and how we might approach them with our new modern tools. So why is MRR down? This is my first ticket from Slater today. I have to do some ad hoc analytics. So for those of you in the audience, everyone familiar with MRR? Monthly recurring revenue, or in our post-scarcity society, monthly recurring GPU units. In this world, self-serve works. It's really nice. People can just answer their own questions. They don't even need to ask me. Less time building charts, running statistical tests, more time creating high-quality tables for those self-serve tools to use. I remember 5 years ago, there was this amazing talk at Coalesce that I attended where the data team from Hex explained how to make this possible. Such a good talk. Hope you didn't miss it. How does a human approach this kind of problem? They start with problem framing. In context, what does down mean? Does it mean last month or relative to target? Ugh, that one's tricky. I don't know if the AI can help me. What did the requester see that made them think that MRR might have gone down? The data framing. What all factors into MRR again? I'm not sure I remember. Does the AI know? Maybe. What's our MRR pipeline look like? How do we construct this metric in our data warehouse? Well, I've got good news for you, because all of this isn't important anymore. AI can do it all. It can plan. Look, a customer churn analysis, new customer acquisition. This is all you need, right? That's what I've heard. But actually, you know, just because we're really into this sort of like hybrid approach of humans and AI, we're going to use my favorite philosophy, AI in the loop. Some of you may be familiar from machine learning, human in the loop. This is a great idea that a lot of people were very excited about, where you have machine learning models making decisions, and humans are there to check the model, to make sure that it hasn't done something totally wrong. I, of course, think that that's ridiculous. I'm much more interested in humans making decisions and having the AI assist them. This is the concept of AI in the loop. And this is kind of how it looks. How does our MRR compare month over month? Maybe an AI-powered search for your metrics definitions, understanding the existing dashboard logic that humans plus AI put together, code and data visualization. I'll let the AI handle that after I tell it what to do. The comparison summary, what really is down? Split this out by MRR components. And then how is MRR tracking to target? It's a very similar process. Maybe you need to retrieve the OKRs first. So these are the sort of logical trees that humans and AI both need to follow and that you can walk through with the AI. Next up, we have data quality. This one, I heard someone at breakfast this morning reminding me that like data quality is never going away. Well, maybe it is. There's something wrong with our users table. So the data quality checks that we run today can be generated automatically. That's already the case. Every row will be inspected by a language model before it hits the data warehouse. Here in 2029, I don't need to look at the rows of my data to see what the issues are, what the distributions look like. In fact, DBT tests can already be generated quite well, phenomenally well, in fact. And for some of you, you may have really been a part of the data quality revolution. You may have realized that like these simple tests are only the beginning. What about outlier detection? What about automated distributional shift testing? Actually, it can do that too. You can give it your model spec. You can tell it the distribution of data previously, and it can generate all the simple code that you used to need to write. Not too bad, not too bad. But also, LLMs can just look at your data. That's my slogan, look at your data. I've been saying it for years, even in the AI space. Look at your data. Well, now, I don't have to look at my data. I'll let LLMs look at my data. Here we have this set of sales. This, seems to be down this month. And if you break it down, you can see it's only down in California. Turns out the models already can tell you that it's happening in California only. I'm going to take a quick aside here to step out of the sort of fun fantasy land. If you're wondering about the current capabilities of this particular application, they're very poor. So curb your expectations for currently. Okay, flash forward back to 2029. Which payment table is the right one? There's 29 of them in the warehouse. We're going to move from data catalogs to data search engines. As someone who's worked on search and retrieval for like 8 years, I'm frankly shocked that it's taken us this long, but this is coming. In fact, it's here. We're going to have a specialized retrieval system for tables to make it easy to find exactly the data that you're looking for. In fact, Hex, this company that I've heard about and spoken about a couple times here, already does massive retrieval on tables, metadata, analysis, and models to power our AI capabilities. There's a lot of research going on right now. How do you embed tables? It sounds kind of silly. You've got all this data stored in like columnar formats. How do you search that? Is that search any different? Turns out it's very different. It's very hard, but it's doable. This is here today. It'd be nice to have a user payment summary table showing revenue by user by month. So we're at a DBT conference, and so I better talk about transformation at some point. So a lot of transformation will move to self-serve. I remember there was a company whose entire sort of like thesis was this first bullet point, and that company was Alteryx. Alteryx was a very successful company. And there's a reason for that. People want to be involved in the process of making their data transformations. They want to be able to put their hands on it. There's one thing I think we can all agree. It's that business partners don't love Jinja as much as me. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's awesome. Our job will become more about creating the granular underlying tables and not the summaries or derived tables. We already see a push towards this in things like the semantic layer, trying to build sort of generalized models across sort of base tables. And a lot of pipeline code is going to be machine generated, as you saw in the keynote. So how does this look? Looks like autonomous agents. Autonomous agents that can take actions and objectives, and it can grind away until it gets closer and closer and closer to the goal. This is here today. Shockingly powerful already. So, we've completed my tickets for the day. I hope you enjoyed this little game. But before I sort of let you come away thinking that this industry is over, I do want to talk about some high-level concepts that I think are important. For the ultimate skeptics in the audience, of which I am probably closest to, here's a great quote about Fortran. Fortran was considered impossible. The type of computing that we do today, very, very strongly protested by programmers. High-level, object-oriented, none of this was even like a consideration. And so when you find yourself implicitly resisting, like I sometimes do, be careful. An important thing to remember is that anything that can be automated will be automated. This is not necessarily an exciting thing to say, but it is the reality of capitalism. Managing automation is its own new job. Being the person that understands how to put these things to work for you, you've probably heard this already 100 times, is going to be incredibly important. So, in case you're concerned, I do have one star left for you, which is what is left for humans. So, I talked to a large number of people to conduct sort of an informal survey to try to get a sense of how people think about their work. And data analytics workflows, and I'm curious if you agree with me, roughly break down like this. Thinking hard about the problem framing, the data framing, and the story, formulating a plan into a series of technical steps, doing the aforementioned technical steps, writing those queries, building those visualizations, etc., reacting to your work, forming the data narrative around it, and then iterating. I've taught about 500 students data analytics at Rutgers over the last 5 years, and I spoke to about 50 data scientists and data analysts, and this is generally the synthesis of all that. I will admit that ChatGPT helped me synthesize it. So my question to you is, I want you to stare at this for a second, and I want you to ask, what do you think the AI can do? Got your answers? This is what I believe. I think it can formulate a plan. I think it can write the queries. I think it can write the code. I think it can do almost all of the technical little bits. I think it can even poke holes in your argument. I think it can critique. I think it can take a look and see if it sees opportunity to improve. That's what I believe. What you'll notice here, and maybe you agree with me, is that all the fun parts are not highlighted. One part of my informal survey is I asked people, if you could choose, how would you split up your time as a data analyst? Where would you put your chips? If you had no constraints, if nobody was breathing down your neck, and everything worked as you wanted it to, how do you think you could do your best work. And this is roughly what I was told. Notice that there's a lot of time spent on summarization, a third of the time, thinking about the data narrative, thinking about the ideas, and a lot of time on planning. Not nearly as much time on coding and framing. But unfortunately, this is what people tell me they spend their time doing. So, my optimistic take on AI is that I think we can reduce the KL divergence between these two distributions. My name is Bryan. I work for Hex. We build AI tools for doing smarter, faster analysis. And that's me. I'm happy to take as many questions as people have.
So, do we have any questions? There we go.
Hi, I love Hex. I'm a huge fan. I'm trying to push it across our team, and this will go a long way. I have a question about the slide you had with highlighting where AI could assist, things like that. At first glance, I disagree with the iterate component, and I am sure you expected that. So I'm wondering if you can elaborate kind of where you think that is more like human performance versus AI.
Yeah, and even with the agents example that I gave, there's some amount of iteration that you can see there where it just like keeps trying and trying and trying. I think the reason that I don't highlight iterate here is because I think in this last step where you're sort of like reacting to your work, there's the part where you're looking and you're using your human brain and you're being like, okay, like I need to go deeper, I need to go further. And then even if the AI helps by saying like, this part doesn't seem correct or this part doesn't like consider everything, I think the kind of taking the next step involves another round of problem framing. It involves another sort of like adjustment. So as an example, if you kind of make your first like churn analysis and you get to the end of your first version of the churn analysis and you're kind of like, okay, I feel reasonably good about this. But when you look at it again, you kind of find yourself wondering like, did I really like break this down into the individual components of churn like convincingly enough? Also, now that I look at this, a lot of our churn seems to be coming from one particular segment. Like, that is more of a question than it is a next step, a next objective. So the iterate here for me is asking that next question, forming that next objective, and then you're back to the AI side. And so I definitely think that like, when it comes to iterating towards a single objective and having it make errors over and over and over again, like the agentic flow, like, yeah, that's really, really like great for AI. It's one of the most amazing and impressive things about, frankly, the capabilities of agents is understand where things didn't work and then keep trying. But I do think that like in the analytics workflow, that second follow-up question is quite difficult.
Any other questions? All right. I walked all the way to the back of the room just to come back.
Get your steps in.
Thank you so much. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Can I have that slide, please? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So I believe when you
Sleepy.
highlighted those words, you had what AI is capable now in mind.
Sorry, I don't know what's
Yeah. Take your
okay.
time.
It is gone, but I can try to get it back. My Chrome crashed. What a time to be alive, right?
That's okay. I can just...
That's okay. Go on.
Yeah, so I believe when you highlighted those statements, you had what AI capable now
Yeah.
in mind.
Yes.
But how do you, giving the dynamic dynamic how space it moves, and what do you think the future holds? Especially, can we maybe in a few years or maybe even a few months highlight all of this, and if so, what are left for humans?
I tried pretty hard to be intentional with the highlights of what I think is within the grasp of artificial intelligence. So that's pretty forward-looking. I have worked with these tools extensively, and like problem framing seems to be like the one thing that I think is borderline equivalent with AGI. I pretty genuinely believe that. So if you're someone who believes that AGI is around the corner in 5 years, then you'll disagree with my highlights. If you're someone that like is also skeptical of AGI, I think it will be very difficult to convince me that problem framing is going to be encompassed by AI. So one of the things that I've kind of learned by teaching a lot of people data analytics is actually like it is by far the hardest part by like a mile. And I think I've only become more and more convinced of that as I get more and more inundated with like AI tools that like actually work. Is the problem framing? That's not doable.
Yet.
Again,
we can argue. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just equivalent to AGI. That's my genuine belief.
Thank you so much.
So.
All right, who else has a question?
On your bar graph,
Yeah.
You had coding, planning, can't remember the other one, and then it was summarizing.
Summarization, yeah. It's coding, planning.
Framework? Framing?
I'll find it, yeah. I'm currently trying to bring my slides back because Chrome crashed, sorry.
So based on your previous answer, do you feel like, people say they spend most of their time coding and less time summarizing. Do you see AI driving it to the point where coding and summarizing are both much smaller and we're spending all of our time doing framework and planning?
Yes, that is absolutely what I believe. And I've already seen it in my own work. Like I've already seen in my own work that I'm spending more and more time sort of constructing like the ideas and then loading up like really good prompts for these different models. When LLMs first started getting popular in data stuff, there was that meme that was really wonderful, which was sort of saying like, wait, you're telling me that all business partners have to do is clearly explain their request to the AI and it'll do it? Our jobs are fine. And I think like that meme is almost like a perfect encapsulation of this exact idea, which is to say that like the more we get good at understanding how to ask questions and really think about and plan out what we want to know, the better these results are going to be. And we're just going to spend more and more time doing that. I personally am writing an embarrassing amount of pandas code these days that like I would have never guessed. And frankly, it's also true of SQL at this point. Like I haven't queried our data warehouse without AI tools, like maybe more than like twice this month, which is really low for a very, very like online person. Like I was constantly on the data warehouse before that. And so it's wild how much once you start adopting it aggressively, it'll really change your habits. I'm curious though, in response, do you feel like you're already seeing this?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that it's bridging the gap with some of our a little less technical users, and it's providing them the ability to kind of up level a little bit without having to get into the code and being able to summarize it. Having the AI summarize the code for you, especially with DBT's new drag and drop feature where it writes the SQL in the back end, pops the SQL out, and then you can have it summarize the view. I think that'll be really useful.
Cool.
I think we had another question in the front. So,
Hi. In addition to yourself and Hex, who are already thinking a lot and working on this, do you have other suggestions for staying on top of the space, people to follow, or resources, or things like that?
Yeah. So there are far more people talking about AI than what any human could hope to sort of consume. As much as I hate to say, a lot of the information that I get comes from Twitter and LinkedIn. I think if you're not in the AI space, reading the papers is probably not a great way to stay abreast. There is one newsletter which is literally AI generated, which is called AI News. It's actually quite high quality, but I think in terms of it depends kind of what your goals are. If you want to understand how to apply AI to your problems, then I definitely think that there are some companies that are creating great content about how to use AI to solve your problems. If you want to get into AI, I think it's a little bit more of it's a different story altogether. So I did write an article with O'Reilly about how to understand how to build AI capabilities and stuff like that. That's easy to find. It's called A Year of Building with LLMs. But yeah, there unfortunately, as far as I know, there's not a great creator out there right now who is making amazing AI application content. So yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's give a round of applause for Bryan.
Thanks.
Thank you.